The main character moved to his uncle in the city. His name is Kitahara Yori. He will live on the second floor of a diving store. He went to inspect the building, looked and he saw a girl. She reminded him of someone. After exchanging glances, he ran to the entrance of the house. Opening the door, he saw naked men playing rock, scissors, paper. He immediately ran to his uncle to find out what was going on here. Uncle thought that Iori was talking about his apron, but the main character pointed to the horror happening behind him and ran away. Two naked guys saw Iori running away. Having found out everything from their uncle, they went to run after him. After running a marathon, the pumped-up men caught up with Iori and returned him to the store. Uncle and the guys behind Iori thought it was a housework, but it turns out that Iori ran away because of a sausage party. They replied that they did not do so at will. This is a common reaction to losing. Katabuki and Iori went to put the ballons in order, having met on the way. As it turned out, they would be at the same faculty. Then they talked about diving, and Iori was not disgusted by diving, but he was not going to do it. He did not know how to swim. Katabuki tried to get him to try it, but it didn't work out. When they reached the exit to the sea, they saw Iori's cousin. The yellow-haired one went on, and Iori stayed to talk. Iori didn't recognize her at first. They went to wash their scuba suits while talking at the same time. Nanaka said that she and her sister Chisa swam in the sea. Iori realized where he saw the girl. Nanaka also asked if he would join the Katabuki club, but he wanted to get out of the habit of something. She did not understand him. Opening the door to the store, they again saw naked, but already drinking men. The guys took him in and forced him to drink. Already in the evening, when Chisa was walking home, thinking about Iori, opening the door to the store, she saw Iori, who was standing naked and talking with men. Chisa felt disgusted with him and looked at him like shit. Iori came up to greet her. He put his hand on her shoulder and she threw off his hand. Chisa approached her sister, asking her to throw away her jacket, which Iori touched. Iori was on his knees, sobbing from the situation, and the guys envied him. He would live with a beauty. Iori, remembering about Nanaka, was delighted, but the guys broke him off, saying that she loves her sister as a girl. All the guys, except the main characters, went home, and Iori also tried to leave under the pretext of the university, but the boys stopped him, forcing him to drink with them. In the morning, he woke up on the street. He turned around, saw a crowd of people who were taking pictures of him, turned back and saw the university there. Sitting at the university, he was thinking about his life when everyone else was discussing him. He looked at the guy with yellow hair, and this guy looked at Iori. Together they thought that they would not communicate with each other. After school, Iori approached Chisa to ask where she was going to enroll. She got up and started to leave. He caught up with her and stopped her, asking her to give him her clothes. She called for help. He started shouting that they should help each other. They are relatives. Chisa was worried that someone would hear. Iori understood what was going on and put her in a dilemma. She chose to give him her clothes, when suddenly a policeman approached him. He started to run, hiding from the police. The same guy from the university came up to him to find out what happened. Iori told him what happened. Kohei went to the policeman, but Iori stopped him and asked for his clothes. For this, Kohei hit him in the face and called the police. Now Iori was hiding from the police under the table of the diving club. As soon as the policeman left, Katabuki called Iori to him, offering him an exchange. He brings the newcomer to the club, and Katabuki will give him clothes. Iori found Kohei, who was looking for a club with undergraduates, but there were no such. Iori said that he was desperate in vain. There is such a club and offers him a diving club. When Kohei came there, two pumped-up boys started hugging him. Iori didn't care anymore because he was dressed. After they found the newcomer, they went to celebrate it with the whole club. Iori asked for oolong tea. He was poured 90% vodka and 10% whiskey. Iori did not want to drink it. The guys were surprised because the color was the same and better. He could still burn. Iori still did not want it to drink. Then they gave him water, but it turned out to be vodka. While everyone was drinking, Iori left there. He saw Chisa. She also joined the club. Iori told her that he did not like diving. Men approached him from behind and returned him to his place. After drinking whiskey, Kohei came up to him. He gave him water and he started drinking without hesitation, but it was vodka. Kohei told Iori that if he didn't force someone to join the club, he wouldn't be left behind. His target was Iori. Iori decided to seem like a fool by handing oolong tea to Kohei, and he was going to drink sake, but it turned out that it was not tea. They got into a fight. Takeda intervened between them, saying that it should be solved in a different way. One takes vodka in his mouth, the other has to make the first laugh, so in turn, until someone gives up. It lasted several hours. Katabuki, surprised by how much they drink, poured them vodka, which contained 96% alcohol. At that time, Nanaka and her uncle were talking about the fact that Iori had joined the club with his new friend. They were very happy about it. The next morning, Iori, but no longer alone, but together with Kohei, were naked at the university. Iori and Chisa were walking from the university. Opening the door, they saw an uncle and two men who had aprons on their naked bodies. The guys said that they had swimming trunks under the apron, they were going to go swimming, but when they turned around, it was clear that only my uncle had swimming trunks. Iori approached Nanaka but was upset that she was in normal clothes. Nanaka told everyone that the customers canceled the order. The guys were also upset that they would have to walk in normal clothes. As soon as everyone was dressed, they sat down to dinner. At lunch, the guys discussed that there was still a lot of time before the evening drinking. They turned to Iori, but he said that he would not drink with them anymore. He was grabbed by his t-shirt, but Nanaka intervened, who said that he had been living with them for the third day, but had not arranged his room. Iori was glad that he would be at home all day. The guys, hanging their noses, quietly said that they wanted to invite the girls. The boys took the life jackets. When they arrived, they saw Iori, who was kneeling without clothes in front of Nanaka, asking to let him go in the evening. The men were surprised by this. Nanaka said that under no circumstances would she let him go. Everyone was thinking how to persuade Nanaka to let him go. The only thing that came to their mind was to decorate the room so that it showed what an independent man he was. And I didn't understand how to do it, but the guys said they would do everything themselves. After a while, Iori brought Nanaka to his room. He did not know that magazines and adult-type newspapers were scattered all over the room. Nanaka was embarrassed and ran out of the room. Iori said he wanted an ordinary room for a student who went to live alone. Iori asked to leave him alone, but the guys said they wanted to give him an interesting tape. While they were watching it, Chisu came to him, who wanted to give him the shelf. Seeing this, Chisa sent the shelf to Iori on his head. Iori chased the boys out of his room, but they asked for another chance by bribing him with another tape. Entering the room, Iori saw Kohei, who was arranging the figures. Iori went to one of the posters and tore it up. They were shouting at each other. Kohei was upset, and Iori replied that it was just a copy. The boys came in here. They asked Iori how he was, but Iori said it got even worse. Iori said he wanted the opposite of this room. Iori gave them another chance. And so he went into his room again. He was misunderstood again. The whole room was in men. Iori asked to remove all this. When suddenly Nakata came to him, she became even more shy and left. Iori decided to give out all the instructions. They will make a room that will be filled with photos of Chisa so that Nanaka likes her. They coped with the work. It turns out the girls are busy today and they won't be able to come today. Iori was disappointed when suddenly Chisa came to him with snacks. She saw a room with her. They celebrate housewarming in the farthest and shabbiest room. The next day, everyone gathered in Iori's room. Usually they always gathered here. They went downstairs. Nanaka congratulated Iori on her first day in clothes. The men thanked the people who had recently signed up. The first thing they will do is teaching diving. Chisa could swim, so she decided to leave, but her uncle stopped her. Iori said he wouldn't study, but the boys made him. They went to the pool to learn to swim. Iori dived under the water, but couldn't even open his eyes. Katabuki gave him glasses. He did the same. He managed to open his eyes, but saw Kohei without panties. He didn't want to swim anymore. Katabuki suggested that he swim naked himself. Chisa changed her clothes and went to the pool. She saw Iori and again looked at him like shit. He approached Chisa, but she ignored him. Starting to talk to Katabuki, she left to watch from the side. Iori didn't want to dive anymore. Already at home, Nanaka asked Iori for the first day at the club. Iori said that he no longer liked the sea. Nanaka asked him to go somewhere with her. They went to a museum with aquariums. They discussed this place, discussed Chicha. Nanaka praised her. After this hike, Iori became motivated. He wanted to learn how to dive. Iori bought a keychain for Chisa and gave it to her. She said she had one, but she took it anyway, and he said he still wanted to learn to swim and left. Iori had a terrible dream. He was a freshman of Easy Virtue. Two pumped-up guys came to him to have fun. Iori woke up from this nightmare, breathing heavily. When he came down, there were guys standing in front of him, holding a female uniform. It was necessary for diving. The main characters considered the form. As Chisa came in, she was outraged, but it was for a talent contest. The guys showed the beginners basic diving equipment. All this is expensive. If you win the contest, there will be an amount for purchases. The main characters do not want to participate because they will be laughed at. They were told that they would win easily and help the club. The club was going to go to the sea. They put on suits and went swimming. Chisa stayed at home. It was easy to breathe. Take the regulator in your mouth and start breathing. Iori dived many times, but stayed for a long time. Katabuki explained that he shouldn't worry. Iori dived again, but water got under his mask. His mask was adjusted. Iori saw people diving before work. Katabuki showed another regulator. It is needed if your partner runs out of air. Iori dived to the bottom again. Opening his eyes, he saw a wonderful world underwater. He was happy. Iori ran to thank Chisa. He was happy that he did not give up and was able to dive into the ocean. After a significant event, the whole club drank beer. The men were happy that Iori had no reason to refuse to participate in the contest. In the morning, Iori woke up with a heavy head after drinking. A girl was sleeping next to him, and a little further away, all the other heroes were sleeping. Iori thought what kind of girl she was. He was told that Azusa was from another university. The men had business in the city, so they called Azusa. Azusa was cooking food for everyone. Everyone was surprised. As it turned out, they will sell okonomiyaki at festivals. Today they will learn to cook. While everyone else was talking, the main characters were thinking how they could get Chisu to participate in the festival. Then, as the men told them, they could not participate. They just had a plan to get Chisa drunk and then ask her for a favor. It was very hot that day, so the heroes poured oolong tea into glasses, but they only poured whiskey into a glass of Chisa. Azusa took the glass of tea, and Chisa was going to have a drink later. Alcohol was left for the guys. It was Iori's turn to go for drinks. While he was pouring, Chisa saw him. The alcohol had to be given to Kohei. Everyone ate the food they cooked. The guys offered Chisa beer, but she refused. Azusa took him. Azusa told Iori that Nanaka had told him a lot of things. Iori, remembering recent events, tried to prove that this was a misunderstanding. It turns out that Azusa is on two fronts. The boys did not give up and tried to get Chisa drunk, but nothing worked. Azusa realized that they were trying to get Chisa drunk and said that it would be better if they asked her about it. They asked her to participate in a beauty contest, but she refused. The guys were drinking again and playing for undressing. Azusa wanted to participate. The newcomers were surprised. None of them could take off even one thing. Azusa returned to the girl and tried to persuade Chisa. She agreed, but even that didn't help the guys because Chisa agreed only if the guys would participate. There was work going on at the counter. They were giving orders. During the break, the men came to them to find out how things were going. Although they were customers, but they had competitors, they were tennisites. Azusa came up to them. She was shirtless. She got dirty. Chisa dressed her. Azusa took Iori with her. While they were walking, she asked what kind of guys she liked. She said about her type. Iori had to say too. Azusa switched shifts with Kohei. The guys went for a walk around the festival. Men jumped up to them from behind. In the evening they will drink with another club. At that time, the tennis players were talking to the girls, but they did not answer them. The guys came up from behind, intimidating them. The tennis players left. Iori switched with Azusa. He didn't want to work with her. They distributed everything quickly. The contest is at Chisa's at 4 o'clock. Chisa already had to get ready, but she didn't want to change clothes. The girls popped up behind her, taking her to change clothes. Kohei approached Iori. They began to quarrel over clothes, who would perform in what. Everyone went to look at Chisu. Toko pointed to a girl in a tennis uniform. They were scared. She was terribly made up. Chisa came out. Everyone was crazy about her, but she walked with a serious face. They decided to make her smile with their smile, but she only got more angry. The only thing they came up with was to lift her dress with balloons. Iori threw balloons. The skirt rose. The whole audience is delighted. Chisa looked at Iori with tears and embarrassment. After leaving the stage, she dragged the armature behind her to beat Iori, but he was hiding in the bushes. Suddenly Kohei was touched by a hand. It was one of the contestants. She invited him to meet. Iori decided to leave, but Kohei stopped him. The girl ran away. The guys found the guys. They went to drink beer. Sitting there, Chisa found him, but Chisa was no longer going to beat him, but for forgiveness she forced him to drink medical alcohol. Chisa was singing something, and then she got angry at Iori again. Then Azusa came in, behind which he hid. She was molested by some guy. She said she would go for a walk with him if he won the competition. Here came the men from another club came for a drink. After her, the heroes went for a walk. Around the corner they saw a girl who offered to meet Kohei. She saw them and approached them. She was drunk, crying. Why no one agrees to meet her? She said that the guys from her club laughed at her. They felt sorry for her. The male beauty contest came. It was Kohei's turn. All the girls fell in love with him. On stage he approached Azusa, offering her to date him. After which the guy who also offered to date her came up. She chose a tennis player without hesitation. He began to mock him, but it turned out it wasn't Azusa. The whole hall was laughing at the tennis player. The next day everyone was drinking, because both contests were won by their participants. Aina came to them. They were drinking together. The next day at the festival, everyone was hitting on her. They didn't understand her. As the men dispersed everyone, they went to the award ceremony. Chisa was upset. They asked her who she would celebrate with. She pointed to Iori, calling him her boyfriend. The whole hall rebelled. In class, all the guys looked with anger at the main characters. They didn't understand why. They still looked the same. Iori tried to ask them, but they didn't want to talk to him. Kohei suggested asking Chisa, but Iori said she wouldn't answer either. Chisa was in a great mood. Iori approached her. She offered to talk in his room. The guys got even more angry. A note arrived on the knife. He had to part with Chisa, but they did not even meet. Kohei had nothing to do with it, so he left. But then Iori said that Kohei was dating Azusa and now they were both in the same boat, while Chisa left. They did not know what they would do. Suddenly they were approached by strangers. They offered help, and in return the main characters would teach them to fall in love with girls. The heroes said they didn't do anything, so the guys decided to bury the protagonists. Guys started coming up to them. They tried to justify themselves, but their words only made everything worse. The only thing left for them was to arrange a group date. They were left alone. When they came to the club, they asked to introduce Azusa to her friends. She offered to ask Chisa. He ran up to her, and she looked at him like shit. Azusa agreed to help if he acts like Chisa's boyfriend until she admits otherwise. He just had to agree. Azusa brought her friend. They thanked her. It turns out that the main characters knew her already. She was at the tennis club and goes to their club. The main characters met those guys and went to the designated place. Before they came in, they came up with conditional signs. Sitting down at the table, they were afraid of the girls' faces. Only Shinakairo tried to please them. He didn't care who he was dating anymore. He chose a girl and started drinking, starting to get acquainted in turn. All the girls introduced themselves. It was the guy's turn. The guys tried to help their friend. They started chatting, and Iori talked to Aina but couldn't stand it and asked to wash up. They began to calm them down. Everyone started calling their names. Aina got into it, and Iori called her a scarecrow again. They began to calm him down. He apologized. Food was brought to them. They took selfies with him. The guys discussed something. Aina showed an old photo. The guys saw it and realized that they were beauties. Everyone began to sort out the girls, but they all chose the same girl, quarreling with each other. In a word, Kohei made the girl feel embarrassed. They all went to the toilet. At this time, Iori suggested going on a date together every day until everyone finds a girlfriend. While Iori was talking to the girl, all the guys were thinking how to stop him. Kohei came up to them and said that hadn't he moved in with his girlfriend, Iori got angry, and the other guys supported him. Aina offered to take desserts. In the evening they broke up. The guys didn't get along with anyone. The girls had fun like in a zoo. The guys heard it, called them names in response and went to drink. The girls discussed that day with joy, and the guys swore among themselves. Iori asked Chisa to sit next to him in the lesson to copy. She did not agree. The guys were thinking what to do. The test in German would be a failure. Iori decided to work himself, make copies of his notes. Having made them, they were thinking where to hide them. Some guys came up to them to ask for cheat sheets. They discussed the places for cheat sheets. Everyone was ready to write off. They asked to remove everything superfluous from the tables. Everyone else in the group was calm. Most of them left after the start of the test. They couldn't write off everything. The teacher saw that no one had written and decided to help. He started speaking Japanese. They had to translate into German. It didn't help. Everyone scored good results, except Iori. He did not score even 10 points. The club was discussing a date. Iori was unhappy. Aina asked to thank them for coming. The main characters asked if she knew what kind of club it was. She said that she was very interested in it, but the guys told her that they were doing something completely different here. The men called the new girl to the party. She introduced herself. After her words, there were no clothes left on the men. She asked what was going on here, but she received a normal answer. The main characters were approached by men, took them to suffocate and took them away to drink. Chisa began to ask Aina about diving. They continued to discuss it in the company of girls. In the background, they had a crazy drunkenness. Aina shouted and asked everyone to get dressed. Here all the heroes were sitting at the table. They ran out of alcohol. Aina offered to go for drinks. Chisa offered to help. The guys at this time were arguing which was better, Takenoko or Kanoko. They were separated again. Offering to break up the dispute in the game, the men came up with several games and randomly selected the Poke game. They wanted to play it, and there was no Poke. Instead they took a sausage. The one who takes it out of his mouth will lose. No one won the game. They pulled it out at the same time. Azusa wrote to the girls to buy Poke. The main characters forced everyone else to participate in this game. Everyone was not against it. Couples will get out by rock, scissors, paper. When the girls returned, they saw how they were playing a game without clothes. Eika tried to understand why they undress all the time. They continued to drink. The men remembered that beginners should be prepared for obtaining a license after they asked about reading the diving manual. But even without answers, they realized that they didn't. They gave them questions that they didn't answer. They were given a manual and forced to study it. Nanaka came up to him to see what he was doing. She snuggled up to him and advised him what to study, but this was just an excuse. She said she knew he was dating Chisu. He started to show a sign of help, jumped up from his seat and approached Azusa for help. She went to say who he really loves. But he stopped her, starting to say that he loves Chisu. Nanaka started to get angry, but in fact she was glad that they get along well while pretending that when they meet. Azuna asked what would happen if they didn't meet, and Nanaka didn't figure out what she would do for it and went on. In the morning they had a workout. Everyone split into pairs. They changed clothes quickly, except Aina. She was shy, and the men were naked. When they were walking to the sea, Iori asked why he was paired with Chisa. Nanaka said that in order for them to reconcile. When they descended, Chisa asked Iori not to sail far away from her. Iori plunged into the sea with Chisa. They swam for a long time, moving on a rope. Chisa was collected in the sea so that nothing would happen. Iori was amazed at this. Coming out of the sea, Aina was happy, Iori also liked it, and Chisa was happy for Iori. I passed another test in German, after which all the guys decided to go to Iori to drink, but he was against it. The reason for visiting Iori's house was to check the words that Iori lives with Chisa. Iori was worried. He understood that they would then find out about Nanako. It will definitely be buried. Iori ran home. He asked Nanako to hide because his friends would come. Nanako didn't understand anything, but she hid. By the evening, his friends came up. They were looking at the store. Iori took the boys to his room. There was a woman's bill at the entrance. They all wanted to nail Iori, but Shinakairo stopped them. He thought it was a hat. Suddenly, they found a lipstick. This time Shinkairo called it a candle for the 5th point. Everyone blamed Iori, but he said that it was for playing with teammates. Everyone realized that the lower billet was not suitable for Chisa. Everyone already believed Iori. As soon as they saw the wig in the female form, they thought that he had oddities and offered to start drinking. They were celebrating the passing of tests, evaluating beer, when suddenly Shinakairo came from the toilet, showing Nanak's photo. Everyone praised her beauty. Shinakairo wanted to meet her, but it was impossible for him. Shinakairo went to the exit to look for Nanako. After continuing to drink beer, Shinichiro came back to them, all in tears, naked and covered in leaves. He went to the beach to look for Nanako and found only a crowd of naked men. They pitied him, but since they would not have supported the enemy, after making sure that Iori does not live with Chisu, they started laughing at how Chisa came to them. She was embarrassed and ran away. Iori tried to run away, but he failed. He was beaten. In the morning at breakfast, Iori was all beaten up. The girls felt sorry for him. The newcomers discussed the place where they would like to swim. When the men came to them, Eika said that she wanted to quickly get a license to dive everywhere. Today they will play doubles tennis. It was about money. The tennis team offered to play for money. They thought how they would win. On the field, everyone was rooting for the diving club. According to the rules, there will be 3 sets, pair tennis. Takedo and Kotegawa were the first to start. They beat their opponents dry. While this was happening, the heroes went to check their senior partners. They were all swollen and shit. It turns out they were treated by tennis players. At the end of the game, the men were drunk. They swelled up before the game. The heroes poured their own drinks into the bottles of the tennis players before the break. Tennis players could not play on and counted an automatic victory. It was the turn of the girls. The tennis players began to mock Chio. She got angry. They played evenly. Everyone supported Chisa, saying that she had a good body. She was angry and embarrassed. The tennis players decided to change the plan. They applied for Eika. Chisa repaid the same. They continued to support her, but it didn't help. The divers lost. The third set started. Iori was naked. Iori played very well. Everything was going well, until the moment when Kohei showed that he did not know how to play. All the shots flew at Kohei. He repeatedly missed the ball. After the defeat at 4-0, it became known that the tennis club records all the games. Iori came up with the idea to serve tightly. They dodged. Iori realized that it was necessary to aim at the camera, almost hitting it. The tennis player saved the camera. The tennis player wanted to say something, but the divers were fighting, and he came up with another idea. He put Kohei in his head, broke it, had to make a replacement. Takedo and Kotegawa came in. They erased their opponents. When Kohei woke up, he started fighting with Iori again. Everyone said that Iori played tennis well. He took up tennis after the entrance exams, but never went there because he didn't have the opportunity to choose. He didn't care anymore. He found a new hobby. Chisa praised him. With the prize money, they were going to go to Okinawa. Everyone was surprised. Everyone had already gathered in Okinawa. When Takedo came to them, he offered them to go to a side job with him. They didn't understand why. The money from the tennis club will go on the road. For everything else you need to earn yourself. The next day, the heroes lay loaded. They did not know where to get the money. Asuka asked them for a part-time job from Takedo, but they could not cope. Having received money for such work, they spent it on beer. Takedo went to work off what he spent, and the heroes stayed at home. Not for them work. Kotegawa also works. They went to work for him. He worked as a bartender. After looking at the menu, they were surprised at the prices. The owner appeared behind their backs. He greeted Azusa and the others. Everyone loved Kotegawa. The owners offered jobs to the main characters. The form suited them. They were given the task to serve their girlfriends. The Kotegawa made drinks without any problems, and the interns did not cope with their work. They misunderstood everything. Then the owner approached them and gave recipes for all drinks. The guys started fighting. They were separated by Eika, but even after the lectures they continued to fool around. The owners asked about the relationship of the main characters from Kotegawa and Azusa. They replied that they were naked. The owner decided to learn more from Iori, starting to describe Kohei. All descriptions converged in Chisoi, which caused a misunderstanding. Kohei offered Eika oolong tea according to the diving club's recipe. She refused. The owner took the drink for himself. After drinking it, he passed out. Iori tried to bring him to his senses, saying that if he fell asleep, then the fifth point would be unattended, from which he quickly woke up. In the evening they went to drink. At night, the main characters went to visit Shinichiro to have a drink with their friends. Finishing his beer, Shinichiro thought why he didn't have a girlfriend. Everyone started insulting him, adding that almost all the guys in their faculty had no girls. Shinichiro got angry at Iori again, but they quickly forgave him. Everyone remembered about Midori. At first they thought that he had found a girlfriend, but then they changed their minds. They started calling him. He picked up the phone and said he would call back in 30 minutes. Suddenly a woman's voice was heard. Everyone heard it and went to burn down his house. While they were walking, Midori decided to do love affairs with his girlfriend. When the doorbell rang, it was the postman, but he did not make a sound. Suddenly the postman said that he had a collection of 200 discs with adult content. The girl was surprised, but the guy quickly justified himself. Suddenly discs began to slip through the door. Midori understood that his friends were standing there. The guys tried to shit Midori by any means. The light in his room turned off. Iori gave him a shadow theater, but it didn't work out. Then Iori started writing on Skype under the female name Midoriu. Midori's phone buzzed. His girlfriend took the phone and read what she had written. She began to strangle him. He easily justified himself. Everyone was worried, but Kohei didn't care. He was only interested in anime girls. When suddenly he heard the girl call Midori brother, it turns out they have known each other since childhood. Kohei exploded and decided to work radically. They almost started kissing. As Kohei began to parade a female voice, calling Midori, his girlfriend packed up and left. Midori tried to justify himself, but he couldn't. All the boys started hating him, but only Iori tried to give him a second chance. Midori had already come to terms with the idea that he was no longer dating, so he asked to introduce him to her friends, for which he was beaten by her. All the guys forgave him. The same evening, the guys celebrated the breakup of Midori. He did not understand why they could not be happy for him. Kyori could say the same. No one was against Nigo having a girlfriend, but he should be prepared to be beaten. The guys didn't explain why they still don't have a girlfriend, as Najima remembered that Iori had promised to find them a girl. Iori didn't know where to find so many girls, but when he was offered 5,000 yen for each, his eyes lit up. In the morning, the guys were thinking how to get Chisa to introduce them to her friends. They got the idea to play king. But how to make her play, Iori came up with an idea how to do it. In the evening, he approached the girls, asked them to join them, slipped sashimi and chopsticks. After that, everyone ran to play king. Eika got in. But without listening to them, Azuna forced the girls to play with them because they had sticks to play with. Sashimi was just a dirty trick of Iori. In the first round, Azuna became the king. She ordered everyone except her to play to the end. The girls didn't understand why they were being forced to participate. Azuna couldn't answer. It turns out that half an hour ago, Iori asked Azuna and Nanaka to help him with the plan. In the second round, Azuna also became the king. She asked everyone to take something off. The guys threw everything off. Aina criticized them. Nanaka wanted to take off her dress, but Aina stopped her, saying that you can take off your socks or tights. In the third round, Aina was the king. She ordered that they would not undress at the next party. All the guys were upset. In the fourth round, Nanaka was the king. The third number had to hug the man on the left. Iori thought it was Chisa, but it turned out it was Katabuki. He squeezed Iori with all his strength. In the fifth round, Kohei became the king. It was necessary to find out the number of Chisa. The odd numbers had uneven sticks. The numbers from the first half were round. Chisa had the first or third number. Kohei ordered to introduce them to his friends the next evening. They asked him what number. He looked at Iori. Iori pointed with his fingers. Kohei, not understanding Iori, said 4. They started fighting again. They were suspected of an insidious plan. The guys had to tell everything. They wanted to leave already, but it was necessary to carry out the king's order. Takedo was under the fourth number. In the evening of the next day, they drank beer with the bodybuilding club. In the afternoon, the newcomers went home. They discussed the guy's new job. The boys offered the girls to get a job there too, but they refused. The girls were discussing daikons. They were missing one. Iori thought it was a vegetable, offered to buy it. Azuna asked Chisa what she would do if Iori bought her a daikon. She said she would count him as a person for 15 minutes. It turns out daikon is an expensive diving watch, worth about 30,000. They went to look around the store. First you need to buy a towel and a bathing suit, as Nanaka said, and the guys don't have to worry, they just need a towel. Then you need to buy a mask. It must be of high quality. If a daikon is needed, then his daikon is needed for swimming alone in deep places. Then they went to inspect everything themselves. The girls were looking at the camera. Iori came up to them with a question, what is it? Azuka said that this is a camera that can shoot the ocean from below. Chisa showed a thing that allows you to talk underwater. Aina approached the guys to find out how to choose a regulator. They told her that it could be rented, but she didn't want to do that because it was like an indirect kiss. But they explained to her that everything was fine and it didn't work that way. The girls went to look at swimsuits while they were choosing. Aina asked about their relationship with Iori. Everything was clear on her. But why did she say that? Chisa wanted to say, but she was interrupted by a consultant who asked Iori to dress in a booth. The guys lost Kohei. Iori went to look for him. Going around the corner, he found him. Kohei looked at the costumes from Evangelion. He couldn't look away. Iori asked the girls to try them on. Coming out of the booth, they saw a gorgeous cosplay. Kohei now calls Iori his best friend. Kohei promised the newcomers that he would definitely buy these suits. The seniors asked how things were going with the purchases, but the newcomers had not chosen anything yet. Iori wanted to ask Chisu how to choose a mask, but he saw her examining the camera. Azuna came up to him from behind and began praising Chisu. In the evening, the guys boasted to Nanaka about their purchases. She was surprised at their wealth. They bought things for themselves, and at the same time they still had to go to Okinawa. In the morning, everyone was working. The girls started posing for the camera while the guys were waiting for a break, although they had just started working. In the evening, Azuna tried to calm the girls down, but nothing helped. After so many preparations, the main characters still ended up in Okinawa. Aina rejoiced at the tropical island. Chisa tried to calm her down. Everyone else was even more furious. The heroes checked into the hotel for 3 days. Kohei and Iori went to the pool when Chisa went to take pictures of the ocean. The bed had to be cramped, a double bed for 4. Some of the boys had to sleep on the floor, but they didn't want to deal with it. They went to the beach. The girls were just changing at that time. Aina ran to the guys. She wanted to save it in a photo album, but all the guys were naked. The boys were happy that there was a beach here, but Aina insisted on going to a shared beach. The guys did not want to, but agreed. Katabuki went for a drink. The others decided to buy an umbrella. They were offered to use the boats, and they would receive an umbrella for free as a gift. Kohei offered Iori a contest. Who would be the first to fall off the boat? He would sleep on the floor. Iori agreed. Chisa was worried about Iori, but he said he had a plan, and you can't be afraid of water forever. Chisa found out how often people fall from the boat. As it turned out, it happens rarely. It turns out that it will not be possible to identify the winner. They took up the handles. Both hands were covered in suntan oil. They began to insult each other. They drove at high speed. They insulted each other. Aina envied them. They distracted each other by pouring oil under their feet. They fell out of the boat at the same time. They continued to fight. Chisa liked it. Aina was jealous of them. The guys heard it and offered to take a ride. After taking a ride on the boat, Aina was upset that it was so usual. In the evening they collapsed to rest, but Chisa reminded them that tomorrow they had a license test. They were given to read manuals. At the expense of sleeping places, Kohei won because of the rising wave. The girls thought about how to help Iori to get enough sleep and offered him to sleep with them. In the evening, Iori was lying on the bed. They said goodnight, but Iori could not fall asleep. He started texting Kohei to switch, but he was already asleep. In the morning, Kohei read messages from Iori. Aina took his phone and read everything written with Chisu. The men believed that Iori would not let go of his hands. Iori might not get enough sleep, he might not pass the test, but Kohei said it doesn't matter how much you slept if you're stupid. Iori came into the room. He was sure that he would score more points than Kohei. They started fighting. The men decided to test the heroes for knowledge. After asking a couple of easy questions, they coped without any problems. After asking a difficult question, Iori answered without hesitation, but Kohei could not. Iori read the textbook all night. Kohei took the textbook and started asking questions. He answered them with ease, but when it came to gestures, he was having the wrong thoughts. Kohei laughed at when the girls came out. He realized what Iori had been through. The men were surprised that Iori was cheerful, but it turns out he forced himself to fall asleep. The men went to cook breakfast. The test will take place at the hotel. Chisa was worried about the guys, but she was told that they should cope. Blushing, she went to check what Iori was doing. He messed up his name. Chisa beat him for it. Everyone passed the license test. They went to the sea. When the cylinders descend from 200 to 60 Pascal, they will need to be informed about it. Going into the water, everyone started to let the air down. Kohei could. Iori did not let the air out, and Ainu pulled the balloon to the bottom. Nanaka continued to teach the guys how to use the rest of the things. Only Iori couldn't do anything. After training, they surfaced. The elders were eating at this time. After coming out of the sea, the boys began to argue again. The guys asked about their balloon pressure. They had a lot more. They were asked why they did not continue swimming. They answered that diving was a group activity. Aina had memories. Everyone insulted her, called her an anchor, hated her. Suddenly she was distracted by Chisa. After filling the balloons, they continued diving lessons. The guys fought again, and Aina admired the ocean. Nanaka asked about the pressure. Everyone except Aina had a lot more. She wanted to lie, but she saw Iori's face and told the truth. They surfaced. On the ground, Iori began to scold Aina. After Iori told everyone else about this conversation, they understood everything. As Una asked to tell the truth about oxygen, they said they would help her learn to use less oxygen. Iori wanted to be happy when Nanaka came up to him and said that he had an empty balloon. He was going to pass out. The only one who did not pass the test was Iori. He could not cope only with cleaning the mask. He understood that they would make fun of him. He was thinking how he would train with the pool. He was thinking how to poison them. Chisa heard it. He was worried. They were going to go to the market. When they got in the car, they couldn't breathe. It turns out that he miscalculated. They needed a car for 8 people. We gave them a truck. They were upset. No one except Aina had no rights. She had to lead. The guys were breathing in the air. They went well, without any problems. Aina praised everything, and she tried to justify herself. Everyone was relaxed. Suddenly an oncoming car drove. They hid under a blanket. The man on the truck saw it and let go of the steering wheel. Everyone went to the market. There were a lot of strange products on the market. Kohei wanted to test his luck and buy everything. Aina went to ask the elders what they were going to buy. Going around the corner, she saw Azusa asking for an old man. Aina was afraid of such a choice and staggered back to her friends. She told them that she had chosen Azusa. They were also surprised. She saw Takedo and decided to find out what he would buy. He asked Hamasaki's wife. Her nose bled. When she returned, she told what she had heard again. She asked them to go with her. They saw Katabuki. He chose a plump high school girl. Kohei and Aina wanted to call the police, but Chisu calmed them down, saying that it was just a kind of fish. But then Iori comes to the cellar and asks for fish, from which you pass out after one bite. At home, they were waiting for disassembly. Iori's plan did not come out. He did not know what to do. Asuna asked the guys to pull out the papers. It was necessary to decide in what order they would cook in pairs, and Iori realized that if Kohei was paired with Aino, he would be able to train while they were cooking. Iori wanted to be paired with Chisa. He had to get a deuce. Chisa heard his pleas. Iori ran to Azusa and pulled a deuce. Chisa wanted to swap with Eika. Azusa hugged Iori from behind and said it was all for Kohei, wasn't it? The men cooked their food. It was the turn to cook couples number 2. Chisa stayed away from Iori. Iori thought to ask Chisa for help, telling about the problem. Aina went to their kitchen. She heard only a fragment of a request to be with him. She was scared, but continuing to listen, she heard the continuation of the confession. Aina returned without tea, telling about what she had heard. Kohei went to find out everything. When he came in, he heard Iori's request to tie him up. He came back and said she was right. Nanaka returned from her business. It was the turn of the third couple to cook. All the newcomers looked at Iori strangely. They asked him what he had done, but he had not managed to do anything yet. At night, Chisa left the room to help Iori. Closing the door, she woke up Iori. She went downstairs and heard Iori and Chisu talking. She kept hearing their conversations in segments. Starting to go crazy, she came around the corner as she saw Chisa drowning Iori in the pool. She screamed. She found out what they were doing. He said he was practicing diving, but she didn't believe him. He wasn't joking. She thought they were doing adult stuff. Chisa said it was really diving training. She believed. Coming out of the pool, he said that he trains cleaning masks. Aina said that if he had told her right away, she would have helped too. He told her what to do. Some guy was walking in the woods, seeing how the girls were drowning Iori. He called the police. Iori almost succeeded. Chisa thought it was a fear of water, so Iori decided to think he was in the bathroom. Aina asked if it really helped, but Iori replied that it didn't. She wondered why he was doing this, and the answer was that this way he could get closer to his dream. He told them to go to bed, and he continued to train. After many attempts, he succeeded. A policeman approached him. He asked if Iori had seen any oddities. He replied that he had not. But the policeman went to check the neighborhood. Iori wanted to get out of the pool, but his swimming trunks were far away. They were looking at each other. Iori sank to the bottom. In the morning, everyone except Iori ate. He caught a cold after the pool. Today Iori was left without training. Aina and Kohei had to get ready and get their licenses. Around 12 o'clock, Iori woke up. He felt better. Azusa came to him with beer. She stayed with him. They don't have medicine, and pharmacies are still closed. He has to dive into the sea tomorrow. He should fully recover. Instead of medicine, she gave him vegetables and canned food. Iori was afraid that the onion would end up in his at the 5th point. He was glad that he would have to put the bow on his neck. But Azusa had a second bow. She was going to shove it into the 5th point, taking off his underpants, and he disappeared into the corridor. The only thing they found was vodka, but patients can't drink a lot of it, and he won't get enough sleep, and he admitted that going to bed with them, he gets nervous and doesn't get enough sleep. Azusa, having thought about what was said, offered to do adult things with her. He had interested her for a long time, so you can do it once, but she was half joking. It could spoil their relationship. Iori thought about everything and refused. After a while, he asked Azusa why she still hadn't offered to date Takedo. She likes him, but it turned out that Takedo has a girlfriend. Hearing this, Iori started drinking vodka in one gulp, upset that Takedo has a girlfriend. The guys just arrived in Maikajimo. Chisa all took pictures of everything. This island is closer to Taiwan than to Japan. The guys opened a beer, but they were hit. They were going to swim, there should be no booze. They were met by friends, they went to the beach by car. In the car, the guys found out that they came here because of the best booze in Japan. All restaurants did not serve a diving club. Iori will not be able to go diving with them. Because of his illness he did not get a license. They went to sea on a ship, everyone was having fun, but the guys were going to fight as usual. Nanaka announced the meeting. The guys will dive to a depth of 17 meters for 40 minutes. Everyone started preparing the equipment. Iori said that he would dive with strangers twice to the training depth, the third time he would wait for them. Aina was thinking of going with him because she was unsure of her skills, but Iori said she would be backed up. Iori was called to a training dive. Everyone else sank to the bottom, they looked at the ocean. It was beautiful, Chisa took pictures of everything. After the dive, they discussed what they had seen, and of course they did not manage to see the sea world, but they showed him everything in the photo. Iori was upset, Chisa saw it. The second approach came, Chisa saw a turtle, the ocean reminded her of an aquarium. After the dive, they had a snack. While eating, they discussed what they had seen again. Iori was resting on the upper deck at that time. Chisa realized that he was sad and went to Nanaka to say that she would not go with them on the third dive. When they went on the third dive, Chisa spoke to Iori. She felt sorry for him, offered to go somewhere tomorrow to practice diving, then she offered to go to the aquarium, but Iori was just sick, he was seasick. They were drinking tea. Iori thanked her for worrying about him. She was embarrassed. Iori was not going to give up on diving. It was cool for him on the yacht. He understood that discussing what he saw underwater, eating together, that's the best thing about diving. The elders were happy after the dive. He was sorry that he swam at a training depth, but he will come back here again. Chisa asked me to invite her when he gets back here. They returned to the island. Everyone continued to have fun. In the evening they discussed that they would not be able to go to the restaurant. It was closed for some reason. Everyone was upset. The newcomers were happy. They would not be drunk, but they were upset by the men. They would arrange their own drinking. The heroes tried to escape, but they were stopped. Everyone will drink from the same container. It's hard to find a drink that everyone will like, so everyone will pour a bottle of their favorite drink, saying a toast. The men were the first to speak. They were glad that they sailed on the same yacht and would drink from the same container. They are all friends. They will stay in the heart all the time. They poured alcohol. Everyone began to speak their speech and pour the strongest drinks. The heroes decided to pour water, but looking into the container, they went blind. He accidentally hit one of the men, but he forgave him. But when he decided to pour water, he was almost nailed, so they decided to pour cherry tincture. Kohei did not know what to say, so he decided to introduce himself. Iori easily said a speech, and Kohei shouted an incomprehensible speech at this time. They started again fight. Everyone was poured a glass. Kohei found a website where it was said how to drink atoki. It was necessary to sit in a circle. The leader spoke a few words, drank in one gulp and passed leadership, and so on in a circle. The elders realized that there was not enough booze. They did more. Iori started beating Kohei. The newcomers didn't care anymore. They were used to strong drinks, but they needed a strong will not to get drunk and snot. But after the first glass everyone was naked. The girls discussed it. They were happy. The alcohol was over. It was not surprising. Ainu agreed to buy them more drinks. Iori went to help her. Aina was waiting for him to get dressed, but Iori did not understand it. Aina did not understand why everything was like this. At that time a policeman was talking to Iori. When she came home, Aina was angry at him. The guys didn't understand why she was angry at him. Iori said that she dreamed of such memories, but she didn't want to go with naked perverts. She continued to scold them. Azusa calmed Aina down by offering her a drink. She took the rest of the atori. She turned off from such a strong drink. The problem was solved. No one screamed, but suddenly Aina woke up. She began to confess to Iori. She would watch him take off his underpants. Iori did not want to do it. She decided take them off yourself. Kohei tried to leave, but he was the next victim. The guys were exhausted. They were lying on the street. They started fighting. Aina found them and started torturing them. They were sitting by the ocean. Kohei didn't have the internet. He couldn't watch the live broadcast. Kohei started saying that he didn't even know he was coming here, and he thought he belonged here. Kohei wanted to beat him for such words, but Iori said that he fulfilled his dream. This place is like a fairy tale. Kohei smiled and agreed with his words. Suddenly Aina came running to them from behind, who continued to torment them. In the morning they went home. The girls looked at the photos that Chisa had printed. They praised her, but Chisa considered half terrible, but Chisa was happy.